Hey guys, just going through a little bit of an interview with Laura here, who completed our 8-week epigenetic program. And thank you so much for jumping on, Laura.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a pretty crazy experience for you. We were just saying before, there's plenty of ups and downs, and I think some people really, think that they need the stars aligned for things to work. But you've proven that it's just having that little bit in the game still, no matter what's going on, that's really changed things. And for you, I guess touching on the first thing, like how has your perception of health and fitness changed since starting the program? What did you kind of believe at the start and kind of change to at the end?
It's funny when you're reading so much information, and you know what I'm like, Josh. I'll dive in, and I want to absorb as much, and it's no different to any part of my life. I want to dive in. I want to know everything, and when looking at the health types, because I've been having a look at it for a couple of years anyway. I had a bit of an idea, but actually going in and finding out what the health type actually was after measurements and things like that, it was very interesting to see some of what the health type actually, for me, being a diplomat, entailed, and how it was going to how my perception would change based on that information alone, because you're just finding that there's little things that you go, yeah, that's me, and not everything relates back to you, and that's cool because we know the ectomorph and endomorph stuff anyway. But essentially, it's driven me to really take notice of me and put that focus on me and how I could then better utilize what I am based on my health type.
Yeah, awesome. Was there anything that you were doing previously that you're not doing anymore?
Other than my stress levels. So it definitely resonated with me a lot on the whole stress in the morning. So as a diplomat, you're better off to deal with stress in the afternoon. So the mornings are more for just quiet time and doing things that are at a low level stress rather than going full hog in the morning. So that made a huge change to how I dealt with my stress. And I think it's shown and proven that it's actually been working quite well. I already worked out in the afternoons. But even changing food to align to it and taking note of those in the mornings, it's just quiet. You just try and ease into the day, don't have the meetings and all those sorts of things that are really going to push. Obviously, with my job, I can't control that entirely, but I can certainly work things around it. So I think that's been one of the biggest things for me.
Do you feel like these changes that you made are like lifelong changes? Like, did you feel like they were hard or anything?
Uh, I don't know. For me to have implemented a lot of it now already, they can't have been hard. I haven't fallen off with those things. There are still times where I am, going to the gym in a morning session, but that's because I'm trying to meet my requirements for myself alone. So you can't always do everything 100%, but I don't feel that it was hard to jump in and do that.
Yeah, cool. And if you did miss it, did you feel guilty as much as like a typical program when you may not have hit the target?
No, and we know that I had about 2-3 weeks in between where I literally had to scale back because I physically wasn't able to attend or drive or do anything like that. So I really had to put a huge focus on me, and that actually worked out to be a really good standpoint for, okay, you've got to take it easy and you've got to take a break, and you need to listen to your body instead of just going full on all the time.
Yeah, right. And the for you, it's where you live your life around you that makes your health really like the health priority that we talk about. We did little things like add a plant. I know you messaged me pretty excited about the plant and
Yeah.
just creating those spaces where you feel better,
Yeah.
which is absolutely cool. So I guess in that holistic sense, is there anything else that really stood out for you that made it different from other programs?
The biggest thing for me that's been a game changer is my gut health.
Okay.
I struggled for a long time, and obviously, I sleep, sleep, eat, and I have all these crazy cravings in the middle of the night. I wake up like 15 times during the night and look for different things, but it was purely because my body was telling me I needed something and I wasn't getting it during the day. So that's been a huge change for me as well. Also knowing that breakfast is important, but for a diplomat, that's okay. We can push breakfast out and have more of a brunch kind of thing, and then just delay things. And if I'm only having 2 big meals but snacking well through the day, that's okay, as long as I'm building on that and not having a huge focus on I've got to have so much meat and I've got to have so much veggies, and all that sort of stuff has been good for me too. And I've actually laid back on the carbs and well, obviously fruit and veggies is carb loaded, but not the pastas and the rice and all that sort of thing as well. And I've pretty much had a vegetarian lifestyle through the duration. And I felt my gut health has benefited from that, because being a diplomat, your gut is slower at processing and digesting. And it resonates very true for me, because it's shown that the improvements have made other improvements, my skin and my energy and different things like that too. So I would swear by that part of it. It's very true with what they tell you, your leafies and just the drinks that you're doing, drinking the tea instead of having coffee, and lowering the dairy intake. And that's been huge. That's a big one for me. And I haven't actually noticed any adverse effects. It's actually all been really good. So
That's so awesome. And I know we did have like a meat feast after we saw Coach Hannah. So it probably screwed you over for a number of days then?
it did. Yeah, I
Yeah.
felt very full, and it was just like I didn't have anything else to eat. So you do notice when you do have things that you shouldn't have, or that you should have minimal amounts. One day a week or a fortnight or whatever is good, but it's not going to help you in the long run. So it's always good to take note of those little things to make things easier. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that resonates for all endomorphs. Marianne, I was talking to yesterday, she's like, I do love meat and everything, but I love how I feel now. And if I
Yeah.
do have the meat occasionally, I can feel myself digesting it. And I was like, oh,
100%.
okay, that's super interesting.
I've had no bloating. I've had no issues at all. And I suffered greatly with gut for a long. So I'm talking since I was little, since I was
Okay.
a toddler. My mum's always said I've had problems, and it's amazing how you can go through life just going, this is normal. The pain's normal, the discomfort's normal. It's not, and it's changed drastically since this. And I was thinking about, Josh, knowing that we were going to have this conversation, of the different things that have changed for me. And
Yeah.
that one is a big game changer, because I've suffered for a very long time for no reason, basically.
You would be so similar to so many people in the gym. Like they just think that, I mean, it's the collection of things, of course, like the lifestyle that most people live. And most people in our gym end up being endomorphs. So it's like all that advice that we had in the past absolutely changes. And it was a belief breaker for me. Like you need your protein, like you need X amount, you train your muscles. And then learning that, hey, no, certain health types do have those longer digestive systems. So they're actually able to take more nutrients. And I guess for the people watching, you haven't calorie counted or anything, have you? Like it hasn't been
Oh,
intense, or
no,
like it's
no,
just been like, here's
not
the
at all.
guidelines.
Not once have I calorie counted. I've just been tracking what I'm eating and making sure I'm having enough to satisfy me. I haven't overindulged, and admittedly, I've still had those little bits of snacking and fallen off. And it's generally when I have engaged in a bit more stress than normal, and that's where it's sort of played a bit of an issue. But otherwise, no calorie counting, nothing.
Yeah, cool. Because I think that's something that stresses people out as well, just being so focused on the food. It's still an important part, but if you can have guidelines rather, it makes it so much simpler. But that's awesome. And I guess just to dive into another sort of factor that's very different, we talk about the mind profile. And I remember we had a conversation with you after we did the whole session on the mind. And that is important for you because you're slightly ectomorphic as well. And I think it was in relation to just relating to other people and emotions. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was very interesting, because you're very focused sometimes on yourself, and other times you're very focused on others. And me personally, I've always been very mindful of other people and how they feel and what they're doing, and not taking gratitude for myself, and focusing on how I'm feeling and what I'm doing. So it kind of shifted me a little bit more to focus on me, and not so much on those around me, and my responsibilities as a parent as well. And just taking a little bit of a step back and being more mindful what I needed and the relationships I needed around me rather than satisfying others. So it's yeah, that's another big one really. But it was that was a big eye opener because I've always been very focused on others rather than what I needed to do for me. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And it's really evident. I'm talking to it. It just comes down to you are yourself, and yes, you need to take care of yourself, but the surroundings and how you reflect upon others without realizing.
Yeah.
And when you're stressed, you create stress amongst others.
That's right.
And so by you finding this sort of sense of peace and then realizing like, okay, well, I do have these tendencies or these traits, and I may not feel the same way other people feel, but I have these beliefs that I need to feel certain ways about things. It's actually able to help you relate better to the people in your life.
Yeah, that's right. And the other thing was like my health type indicates, you know, I have an analytical mind and I like numbers and my job resonates with that very well. But there's also responsibilities in my life that weren't an option and never were an option. You know, being a more of a guardian profile is a caring profile, and not that I'm not caring, but I wasn't built for that. And there's some things in life where I've had to be that person and take on a nursing profile as such, and it's just not me, and it never sat well with me, and I think it just disgruntled me all over. Not that I would never do it because I had to, I didn't have a choice, but I embraced it. But it makes me feel better knowing that the feelings I have were right. You know, if I had have listened to myself and going, okay, I need to accept this because I don't have much of a choice. But now I'm really going, okay, I know why I feel like that, and that's okay. And I can feel crappy about it and not be happy that this is the life that I've been provided with. But it makes a lot of sense as to how I used to feel about that. And I've released a lot of, I think, perception for myself, and I look at things in a different way to then not say, well, this is such a shitty time, and just embrace it and go, okay, I wasn't made for this, but I'm going to give it my shot anyway because I have to do it. Sorry, I don't know if that made that.
I get what you're saying. I know a little bit more context, but probably a little bit of shame and guilt for not feeling a certain way when everyone else would feel a certain way or always be there, you know. But I think, like I said to you, you've been able to be successful in your career, being a single mum for the most part, and just pushing forward in other areas rather than letting the whole thing in the background really hold you back. So that's been something absolutely incredible. And I think
huge achievement for sure.
Letting yourself see where you think you're meant to be versus where you're allowed to be, and just that's stress reduction itself. It's not that constant worry.
Yeah, definitely. And having two girls for 21 years that have needed to rely on me and have me as that, and having to do, you know, not just care for them in a nursing capacity, but actually have to do medical things with them as well. And it released. It was like a massive relief after that session that we had to go, yeah, okay, I wasn't built for that, and that's okay. You know, I know why. Yeah, I never really liked that part of it. So
yeah, and it's crazy. Like I guess to give it some more context for people, like if you look at the body shapes that end up in general industries in certain areas, like nurses are more endomorphic. Laura's profile heads slightly more around to the ectomorphic, endomorphic. So she got some tendencies. And that's the conflict, I guess, as well. It's like you do have that there, but you also need to focus on yourself. You need that pursuit, essentially, which is your job. And I think sometimes people don't understand that when people focus on their jobs, because so many people are just family focused, or it's not even the family focused. It's just like society focused. Like if they're not driven, then it's the opposite. And understanding that people do have different tendencies, and we shouldn't compare ourselves to the people that have those natural instincts to move a certain way.
No.
Yeah, we see it play out, and it's absolutely fascinating. And that's why I think I just love this program, because it gives you permission to be you.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And like, you know, I'd been looking at it for a good couple of years, and it just kept sparking my interest, and it has shed so many lights on so many different things. And now we're talking about it, and I've already mentioned 3 things that have actually been big parts of a change in my life. So, yeah,
Yeah. And it's not all about like, yeah, the weight. It's that whole mental release. You're even getting stronger. Like you
yeah,
were slightly injured for a bit and then just a bit of an alignment and then bang, smashed out all these PBs this week, like absolutely crushed the sessions. Um, Everything just kind of comes together when you reduce that stress and your body's able to get to that point where it's just in alignment, really.
oh, I agree, most definitely. Yeah,
Yeah, I think even your sleeping's getting better. We got you on a Whoop watch. We can track your stress. And that works perfectly well for you because you're highly analytical. You love the data. And that's what helps us as coaches realize, okay, what can we do with these people without pushing them over the edge?
yeah,
Because with so many other programs, it's like you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to track this. And for different types of people, it's just like that's not how they want to operate. They just want to operate on feelings, which doesn't always work if you have a shit day.
no, no, that's right.
And you're not in control of the day.
No, that's right. And I think a huge thing for me is I've always had that requirement of not needing, but having to be in control. So I've never wanted to be in control, but I've had to. And then looking at I mean, there's things with the profile that I don't necessarily agree with, but that's because, you know, we all sit on a different part of that anyway, on the degrees. And you know, like being a bit slower and things like that. Whereas my job is like I'm 24/7. I hit the ground and I run. And
Yeah.
I think in my life I've pretty much been that all the time. You see me, Josh, like I don't slow down. I don't know when to stop and I don't know when to take a step back and break. But I've actually learned to do that a little bit and to fit in more with that health type too. So that's not
Yeah.
been a bad thing, and that's helped with the stress and stuff as well. So I've
Sure.
just
Because
learned to
people,
manage.
yeah, you think you need to go because you've always gone and that's how you've got to where you've got. But gets to the point you hit that brick wall and you're like, oh, shit.
And when I crash, right?
Yeah. And something's got to change. And unfortunately, it doesn't matter how many coaches you have around you. It's not until you hit those points that change will actually occur. And I think it just come at a perfect time. You pretty much were this far away from the wall
Yeah.
at the start of the program. I think you still hit it. But then your recovery strategy was so much more easier because you had things that were in alignment with you.
Yeah, no, that's right. I did hit the wall pretty hard. So
Yeah, but back on top, which is fantastic.
yeah.
I guess that's awesome. You covered so many things. I hope that people got so much out of that. In terms of where you're going next, what's the kind of goals lining up for you soon?
Going to jump into the detox. I know it's going to be difficult, but I think that with a bit of focus, only like 10 days, so should be good with that. But just to play a bit more of a focus on some of the things with the Shay app and the social aspects of it, and the things like having a plan around and, you know, those sorts of things. It's telling me my social interactions should be increased because I'm a social person, which I find myself a bit more outside of the gym. I'm a bit more of an introvert. I know people don't believe
you wouldn't
that.
think so in the gym.
No, but that's a comfortable place for me, right? It's a safe space.
And that's it. It's aligning people who have similar values and can talk the same sort of jargon. And that's the whole thing. When people get in alignment with their profile, you can still interact with other profiles because you have certain things that other profiles might want. Like we talked about the Guardian having an activator training buddy because it's always like, come on, because it's hard to get started. And I feel for you, I know you're like, I don't resonate with some of the stuff in the profile. As you get older, things tend to come out more and then you start to align a bit more with it. I reckon partly because of social influence. When you're older, you give less shits about what other people think and your identity changes along the way. But also there is a couple of degrees on the scale, or I've heard people reference diplovators. So there is diplomats that are high energy and they have that tendency straight across the activator. So that could be relevant for you as well. And I'm keen to learn more about that and share it with you when I do.
I know, same. That'd be really good. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, that's awesome. So looking forward to you trying out the detox. It's for people listening, it's just like individual profile. You have to follow your strict food list. Some people do get smoothies, other people don't. So did you see what you get?
Yeah, mine's a very salad based. So everything's
Okay.
salad, but a lot of it's fruit and vegetables. And yeah, that's how it goes. You can have juices and things like that, but it's very fruit and vegetable based. So I'll be interested in how that goes. But I can say that as well that normally my energy levels are very low and I still come and I'll train and whatever, but I'm always very tired and lethargic. But the last 8 weeks I've been pretty much on top of the world. I've been getting up, doing what I need to do, even when I haven't been feeling the best as well. So I know there was I think it was about a week at the beginning, Josh, and I said to you, I'm just tired all the time and I want to sleep. But it was that change and it was the body processing and getting rid of all the crap, basically, out of the system. So I found
Well,
it
that's yeah.
good too.
That's what the system allows, right? So we do naturally detoxify, but if we're constantly putting in things our body can't filter as well,
Yeah.
then that really just like bogs us down. But then when we've gone and done something, so your kidneys and your liver and stuff should help detoxify most things, but I guess after years of not doing what's aligned with you, it just gets clogged. So you're halfway there, and then this will be probably like a supercharge, and we'll see you smoke it
So good. I can't wait
through.
to try it out.
Yeah, and then we'll just see you running laps around everyone at Spartan. So
Yeah, 100%. That'll be
but
good. We'll see without injury.
we'll try. Less stress, less
We'll
injury.
try.
So yeah,
Let's
less
make
stress, less injury. No, we're good. Just freak accidents for those. But
yeah.
yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I hope people got something out of it. If you want to reach out to either of us, ask us questions. Like I think the more people that know about this, the better society just gets because you understand people better, you understand yourself better, and you can just communicate and feel better.
No, definitely. I agree. And it's all about as well what I think is awareness. It's not motivation, it's not drive or anything like that. It's more about awareness and being in tune with yourself.
Yeah, and that's perfectly speaks to your profile. If it was an activator, it'd be like I do this and a challenge and all those sorts of things. But
Yeah,
that's what we can appreciate now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can appreciate it. We're like, that's your genius. Like you love the mind, all those sorts of things. So awesome. Thank you so much, Laura. I appreciate your time. And yeah, I'll speak to you soon.
Okay. Thanks, Josh.